Criminal Justice Committee meeting. I guess we need a roll call, please.
Mr. Byrne, Mr. Hess, Mr. Washington,
Present.
Mr. Stauffenberg, Mr. Vickery, Mr. Tholen, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Scott, Mr. Snipes, Mr. Seroy, Mr. Einfeld, Ms. Evans, Mr. Payton, Ms. Dunbar, Ms. Parker, Mr. Wheeler,
Present.
Mr. Lear. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Having no public comment. Approval of the minutes. They're almost ready. There will be 2 sets of minutes next month. We're missing about the last 10 minutes of the meeting. So, I guess from judicial is Chief Judge representative here? No? All right. Circuit Clerk Sandy Cianci. Can I get a motion to approve the monthly report? Mr. Washington, second. Mr. Stauffenberg, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Thank you.
Good morning. So there's nothing unusual with the regular report that we send to you. The inserted report from Harris & Harris, the criminal felony report, I've updated that so you have a handout that's stapled together. That's the more correct one. He and I were going over it yesterday late after Diane had already received the first thing, and there were some typos, so I'm just going to explain this a little bit. This is a report of all of the, kind of a drill down of all of the cases that were sent to them. So the overall inventory, it's not what we've collected, just what we've turned over to them. Next month I'm going to have him create a similar report, but only for what we've collected. I think we're more interested in what's been collected than we are what we've turned over. But it kind of, just to give you an example, in the felony division, in the first column, it says overall inventory. That's what we sent to them in 2011, 2012, 13, 14, all the way down. And then in those cases in 2011, the cases that were prior to 2000 was 141,766. Then the cases that were from 2000 to 2009 are 63,000. And then 2010 was the 3,085. So you can kind of take it all the way down. And then I think in the column of 2015, where it's the percent of overall felony placements, it says 0%. I think that's a rounding issue. I emailed him this morning, but I haven't gotten a response back to him from him. But that just kind of gives you an idea. Then he was saying that 94% of all of the felony cases are dated prior to 2009, and that only 6% of the felony cases are dated after 2010. And that 33% of overall placement is felony, where if you go down to traffic, 66% of the traffic cases are older than 7 years, but 26 let's see, he didn't give a percent of how many were traffic, but traffic is usually the overall. Traffic and DUIs are the most where we collect. So if you want me to have them bring back a report of a more drilled down thing of what we've collected in those years divisions, we can do that.
I have a question. How long do these, are they collectible? Can we pursue these because there's a judgment? Is in perpetuity down the road, or?
If they trip over them, they can collect it, but the 7-year rule is what applies as far as like the debt recovery program.
Okay.
They can only go after 7 years worth.
I don't know how the committee feels, but in my view, it's easier to see a number. It's Let me turn it up. Maybe that'll help. It's all the way up. I don't know how the committee feels, but would you rather see a number that's collectible instead of something that is just to separate the two
Yeah.
out going forward? I
Yeah.
think it helps me out to know. And
That's
as things
fine.
fall off, so.
Okay, I can make that happen. He had also provided another report that didn't print out very well for me that I was going to show you how they show in other counties, because I thought they generated the same type of report for every county, but they do it how each county wants it reported. So I can definitely do that moving forward. So then on the recoveries chart that I do, for 2017, we're up around $35,000 from last year at this time.
Is there any questions? I have one more. Have you noticed any trends on the court security fee since we
Oh,
upped
I
that?
didn't do that. I think, Sheriff, didn't you do that last month? I thought you reported on that. I'll make a note. Okay.
It seems like it's up, but I don't know if we paid attention to it closely. It'd be good to gauge it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The state's attorney's collection, court call that they have, I forgot to ask Desiree for the information, but Jim and I talked this morning, and we think we're up to about $70,000 for those court calls since February. So I will make sure that I get a, number for next month. But we're moving right along. And we're working on, there's another company that the state's attorney's office has gone into contract with, and we're still trying to get that together. Two? Okay. I haven't met the other people yet then. Okay. So, have they already started? Okay. That's what I mean. Okay. So, I will probably be reporting on those once we get connected with them and are able to send files back and forth. So, that's it for my collections reports. The computerization updates, we are moving along with the e-filing with a few more case types. We're training more of the staff. We have people that are, it's becoming second nature to them now as far as the process goes. We're training new law offices as they're calling in. You know, we're trying to direct them to the right people to get their cases filed. And then my chief deputy will be out on medical leave for about a week or two. So then when she comes back, she's going to start training some more people on different case types. And we should be moving along with that. What we're doing for the design for the countertop right now is we're just altering the counter in the main office for a temporary fix until we can get that finished up in my office. We need to have 2 stations set up for the public. We decided on 2 stations because if one goes out for some reason or fails for some reason, then we will have a backup. And if 2 people are filing, then they can come in and do that. But generally, the law offices will be filing from their offices. They won't need to come in and file. So hopefully, January 1st is when we have to start with the public. So that's where we'll need to be available to help the pro se litigants do their filing. So
Have you seen a drawing on that yet from the architect?
Not the
Not yet.
newest one.
Okay.
The newest one. I did get a drawing for a more permanent solution, but that's going to be further down the road. So the new drawing, he just came last week or the week before, so we don't have that. But it's just going to, in the main office, we're going to take the right side of the counter out and just extend it along to the wall and make it accessible. And then put a little like half door so that my staff can easily just go out to the, the lobby area and help the people. So that should work out pretty good.
Yep. So anybody on building and grounds will know that, or should know that, we were put on notice that anytime we make alterations to the courthouse, we have to send those drawings to the AG's office. So that's why we're doing that step, is getting a drawing and spending that expense. You need a drawing anyway, but we're going to get that down to them to make sure we don't go run afoul of a better situation we have brewing. So. Oh, sorry, Ms. Evans. Give me a minute here. 17. There we go.
This is actually a question, thank you, Chairman, in regards to your Harris report. I was just looking at it and noticing the DUI amount for 2011 and 12 was over 600, and all the other years since have been, and this question actually might be more for the sheriff than, is the reduction so much less in the amount of DUI numbers, and I realize this is open inventory, but I guess that would also reflect on the amount of arrests that were made as well. So is it that much less, not because Kankakee County is behaving itself better, but more than we have a lack of people out there to patrol because of our financial situation?
No, I know, but the arrests, like we've turned over.
The numbers are higher than the earlier years because you have all that inventory. So the low hanging fruit, the easiest ones to collect are collected in those years. Now you have less inventory, right? The inventory you have on the books is harder to collect.
So it doesn't reflect because we had more guys out there that they were able.
Hey, Mr. Rowe, sorry, Mike. Yeah.
It's impacted the number of DUI arrests and then some drivers being able to get off the street. It's decreased because we decreased the number of patrol officers. But as far as the debt that's outstanding, I don't think it's too much.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other part of it too, in the more recent years, those cases are still being worked in the court system, and the judges have kept those cases for like 2 years before they have the final cutoff date, before they would then request to send it off to collections. So there's probably a lot out there that they're still keeping an eye on and bringing back to court. Okay. So I don't know if there's any more questions about the computerization update. Then I want to talk about staffing levels. As you have heard in the other divisions, that the trickle-down effect with the increased criminal cases has been pretty telling in my office as well. The civil calls have also increased. We've added the additional collections call for the state's attorney's office, as far as somebody that I have to have go to court with one of the judges. And then the Harris has also been doing a garnishment and wage deduction court call as well, so I have to send somebody to court for that. The judges have decided they do this in waves with the jury. People that don't come in for jury duty, they have a civil contempt court call for failure to appear in the juries, and they kind of tabled that for a while, and well, now in November they're going to do another one. And what I've been doing too is I don't order I order the case files, the folders as I need them. So I've had to increase, where did I make my notes? I've had to increase, I mean, I've done the juveniles, I've done the civil contempt. We've had to add felonies, we've had to add misdemeanors, we've had to add the tax cases. We had 75 extra tax cases that we had to order for. So our office has been just going crazy. I'm down 1 minute clerk right now. She left for a position to make more money, so the supervisor has been in there working with the juvenile court judge. We're still training the most recent hire, and you know, through attrition, I've let over 7 full-time positions go, and we're down a floater. There's things that are falling through the cracks as far as one of the clerks turned in some paperwork for an expungement that probably should have been turned in like 3 months ago, but you know, she's going to court, coming back, answering phone calls, doing her work. I've had people staying after work for comp time like 2 to 3 times a week for the last month or so, trying to have an hour worth of catch-up time. And then other clerks have been voluntarily helping the ones with the larger court calls to try to help them get caught up as well during their work hours, and some are staying afterwards as well. Then the minute clerk supervisor, she was on vacation later this summer, and she knew that if we were in a crunch, she offered to call if I needed her, and sure enough we did. We had to call her in off of her vacation to work, to go to court. And these are all union employees, even though the supervisors, they're still union employees. So what else? Oh, and then the child support clerk, she went through all of the cases for the annual fee. She went through all of the names and addresses with a fine-tooth comb and found an additional $10,000 that she brought in this year, so that was a really good thing. And she also processes the criminal bonds and the expungements. She's been learning e-filing, and she helps with the weddings when we have them on Wednesdays and Fridays too. Traffic division is down 2 clerks. We're still training. We have a new bookkeeper. We've been training her. So things are really crazy in our office, and we're having a hard time keeping up with everything. So that's why I'm asking to be able to add to the staffing level, to refill some of the positions that I've let go.
Do you have any specifics?
Well, immediately I would like to have a floater minute clerk. You know, we need more clerks for the courts. You know, I'm still down to 1. I've only gotten a couple of applications, so I'm still sending it out to different entities to try to get more people for that position. And then if I could get a floater minute clerk, that would be helpful.
So it's just the one right now, or what have we?
Probably 1 or 2.
And were you down 1 through a recent, somebody left? Is that
Yes.
what you were saying?
Right now I'm still trying to fill an empty one.
So that, is it just a replacement for a current position? Is kind of
No,
okay.
that one plus at least 1.
Plus 1. Okay. Questions?
I mean, I'd like to have 3, but
Any other questions? What's the pay rate for this starting positions?
around $13 an hour is it, and that's the highest levels coming in.
Ms. Dunbar? I think that's the right one. 20.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm new, I'm still playing the new card, but it would be really helpful to have a breakdown of what this means in terms of money. This is
Okay.
about the 3rd time that I've heard somebody request staff, and I don't have any information to make some kind of an intelligent decision about it. I don't know what your budget looks like. I don't know what the total cost of the staff person is going to be. Are they going to get benefits? It's really hard, at least for me, to just say, yeah, sure, go ahead and add somebody with 0 information about the impact that it has not only on your budget, but the overall county budget. So I'm inclined to say no, not because I don't think you need it, because I clearly, you know, you're overwhelmed, but I don't have enough information to say yes.
Thank you. From my perspective, it's exactly the same sentiment. It's, we did this last month and we still didn't get a financial breakdown of what that meant.
Okay.
And when we bring this to finance, if that's this committee's choosing, it has to have that, what you're asking for. Absolutely has to have it for us to be able to approve it. So that's just my perspective. General Snipes, you got something? Sorry, I was waiting.
Joe.
I was waiting. Hey, you can't make an entrance, so I'll give you that. I'll give you that, man. Go ahead.
Without reservation, I think we just need to go ahead and take the consideration and pass it on to finance. That's where the test is going to be. Unfortunately, this is one of the critical offices in our county, and if a mistake happens, I'm not to say that it has not happened and hopefully will never happen, but a criminal could almost walk free or whatever if something is not there, or you know, we can lose because it's a strong element in the court, whereas they depend on these individuals. And when I'm hearing only one per court, and to go into those courts to see what they do and how they have to help the judge keep the records and things of this nature is very critical to our process. So in this case, you know, a lot of and I agree with Ms. Dunbar, you know, because I do ask for a stat sheet, you know, so we can see whether or not you know, it's feasible to send it on or you can endure. In this case, I see the press because I go in and monitor the courts, and so I see from time to time what they're doing, and so therefore that urgency, I think, needs to be addressed, and I wouldn't want to hinder it here. Okay. I would rather just go ahead and send it to the finance committee, and then you can give them that stat sheet and go from there. And that would be my kind of recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Washington?
Sandy, how long has it been since that first position that you mentioned hasn't been filled? How long has it been?
The floater minute clerk, the one that I haven't filled over a year, maybe a year and a half.
I hesitate to make recommendations, but this is a critical office, as Mr. Snipes has said, and I think we need to move it on to the Finance Committee with the information
numbers
that we need.
Thank you.
So, before I ask for that motion, I just want to mention there's a reason that really the chief judge has special powers in these cases and why he came to this meeting. He mentioned to me that we were starting to see the backup because of all the cases that are being filed and prosecuted more than we have. I can't say historically, but in recent history, and that has implications in Sandy's office. Probably has more implications in Tom's office down the road. But you know, there's reasons why they take that financial, I don't want to say management, out of our hands in some cases. They can mandate certain things. So that's one of the reasons that we have to pay special attention when the chief judge tells us we've got an issue. So, and plus it's the right thing to do, as you mentioned. These are critical offices, and we don't want to have things go sideways on us in appeals because of things got lost or we didn't have enough people in the courtroom. So, but so is the motion going to be to send forward with a recommendation pending financial approval? Yeah. Okay, who's making that? Mr. Snipes, second. Mr. Washington. This is spending money eventually, so let's do a roll call just in case.
Mr. Washington? Aye. Mr. Stauffenberg? Aye. Mr. Vickery? Aye. Mr. McConnell? Aye. Mr. Snipes? Aye. Mr. Seroy? Aye. Mr. Einfeld? Aye. Ms. Evans? Aye. Mr. Payton? Aye. Ms. Dunbar? Ms. Parker? Aye. Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sure, Ms. Dunbar.
I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't implying that I didn't want to do it.
No, I
It just in the future, it would be really helpful to have that information up front.
Mr. Stauffenberg?
Thank you, Chairman. Sandy, what kind of applicants do you get? Where do they come from? Can we go to the colleges, or are
I
these people
sent
that are
it-
just coming out of some?
I sent it to both colleges and then on our website. I'm thinking about putting it out on Facebook, and I'm thinking about, I mean, I even spoke with people at, KCC and Olivet. I spoke with, drawing a blank on his name right now, but, I need to figure out a different way. I don't know if I should put it out on Indeed or any of those other type of websites, but I got 3 applicants this last time, and I've kept it open-ended because I haven't gotten many.
Is $13 an hour a deterrent, you think? Because they can,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
I mean, that's why the one clerk left. You know, she and she has experience in the system. She worked in the state's attorney's office and then left and was a police officer, and the law enforcement just evidently wasn't her thing, so then she worked for me, and she couldn't make it on, you know, with the money that she was making, and so when she got a better offer, she took it. And she, you know, I had like half the training to work with her because she already knew the case management system and, you know, inside and out and backwards. I mean, losing her was a big loss.
That's with full benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes it somewhat attractive.
Anything else, Mr. Stauffenberg?
No, thank you.
Mr. Einfeld, just a moment, please. 26, right?
Yes, Sandy, do you have a feeling of what the general rate of pay for these positions would be throughout some other surrounding counties? Give us an idea what you're battling with at a $13 an hour. Are we good? Are we bad? Are we midstream?
Yeah, I can look that up and get that ready for the next meeting. Right off the top of my head, I don't have that information.
That would be a good thing, and
I can
as
compare
everybody-
like counties, you know, like Danville is a like county and Tazewell County is a like county, and I think LaSalle, we're all about the same.
Sure.
I think LaSalle has a bigger budget, don't they?
They have some revenue sources.
Revenue
that are
sources, but I think Danville is closer to what we are in
Tazewell, Danville, Macon. That was another-
Macon, yeah.
So-
So I can, you know, as far as the economic level of what the county board is too, so I can get those numbers easily.
In the job market, there, people aren't stuck to their towns anymore. You know, they'll run from here to New York if they can make sense of the money. That would be a conversation that I would enjoy seeing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes, do you have something?
There's an old cliche to say, I once dreamed of the salary I'm now starving on. What I would probably suggest is if you're looking at the trend of the news, you see that even McDonald's workers are asking for $15 an hour, and they're still qualifying for public aid. So what I'm saying, even though we have the benefit package and things of this nature, we have to look at, in comparison with other counties or wherever, and then the rate of individuals leaving us. See, when you have a great amount of experience that's going to probably take me some time to recover, then I might have to be able, I would, in my position, I will be waging that experience in order to basically kind of keep it here versus it leaving. But at the same time, we have to look at an individual saying, if we do that, then what's going to prohibit them from finding another opportunity? So I kind of see the county position, and I also see theirs as well. And when I'm looking at McDonald workers who saying, hey, we need $15 an hour, then I'm looking at $13. It's not, I can tell you right now, coming out of college, when you have a student loan the size of a mortgage, you have to have one job to pay that student loan and another to try to help you to live. So look at the economy that we're living in and look at what these students are under to get qualified staff. Just, we have to look at it.
Yeah, and that's the highest level of my office too, by the way, the $13 to $14 walking in off the street. That's I have 3 grades, grade 1, 2, and 3, and that's the highest grade. So my lowest grade is like $12.14. So I mean, we don't pay very much. Even the other offices in the county pay more than we do. So,
Is it, what do you say, the adage that a lot of people are not necessarily in your office, but for that type of pay, they're working for the benefits? Because the benefits are almost equal to, to what pay is in a grand scheme of things. So,
yeah.
first, Mr. Einfeld, then we'll go back over to you.
One more thing for this committee here. I haven't hung around this circuit clerk's office in some time. However, my uncle was there forever, and as a youngster, I was 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, would hang around there. Things are, just like she said, crazy in that office. There's so much paper in and out. You just don't get, and I hate to say it, it's people. You just don't get a whole lot of dedication at a gross paycheck of $500 a week. Give 100 of it to Uncle Sam. You go to the grocery store, one child, one woman, 2 bags of groceries, $136. It's a tough thing. Thank you, and that's all I got to say.
Sevens? Just a moment, please.
You had mentioned possibly using the source of Indeed to put, I don't know, is it a cost to?
I don't know. I've never looked into that. I just know that that's a popular site where people are looking.
It's very, because once you sign up on it, you get emails, every day for the most part, and it's typically within within your county. Of course, it depends on what you plug into it as far as what it responds back to you. But
Okay.
I mean, I think that that is a resource that a lot of people are using. I hear other people talking about Indeed, and I know you get emails. I think it's almost every day. So
Okay.
it might be another avenue if it's not costly or a cost at all.
Right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Stauffenberg? Oh, one second here.
Our HR person at Homestars put together a little synopsis of what it costs us when we lose somebody, $5,000 in productivity, training, and so forth. So every time we lose somebody like that, it costs us too. So maybe upping the hourly would save us some money. We work 2,060 hours a year.
Well, we only work 1820 a year, and that was
really?
another thing I was thinking about. But of course, this is all union business as well. But even increasing the hours, and then this way we wouldn't be expending that much more for the benefit package. But then we would get more time without the customers coming in, where you have more time to focus. Because I mean, it is hard to focus when you're getting ready to go to court. You go to court, you come back. One of my clerks, she had like 25 phone calls that she had to listen to the voicemail just to get the messages, and then it was time to go back to court. So then she didn't have time to respond to those phone calls, So I mean, it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah,
When you're in court 5 days a week, you don't have time to do all the other stuff that you need to do.
understand.
So one last little thing that I wanted to tell you about, the Supreme Court appointed me to a standing committee for the Judicial College, they're calling it. Judges Kramer and Elliott were also appointed. We went down last week to Springfield. We were there. They did a presentation, they did a video, but I am one of 5 clerks that is being appointed to this committee, and we are creating protocol and curriculum for a judicial college so that other clerks, the Supreme Court, we're all working together. There's trial court administrators, judges, and circuit clerks on our committee, so I can only speak to what our committee is. And there's about 15 of us on our committee, and we're working towards some education throughout the state so that it's standardized across the state, because so many counties do the same thing but differently. So we're trying to hone in together and get it more of a similar package. So I was very honored to be appointed to that. The appointment runs through 2021, I believe, for me. They have them all staggered at different times, but it was quite an honor, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you. Oh, sorry. Mr. Vickery first. We'll come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at a census here, the fringe package is about $20,000 a year if they take family coverage. So I think that would be just a comment, but the question I would ask is, what is the standard hours that they work?
18.20 a year. So the hour 8:30 to 4:30 with an hour unpaid lunch.
Okay, so they're working 7 hours?
7 hours a day.
7 hours a day? Okay. And that's in the contract?
Yes.
That might be something we need to look at. Thank you.
And I think, and I want to clarify, I think our end of it is 16,000. I believe our end of the health insurance for family. I believe, I may be wrong, but that's the number that was always,
Family coverage is about 17,000,
about 17. Okay,
our cost.
our cost. Okay.
Yeah, and then you got IMRF. These are 14, I didn't bring the 15 numbers, I just
Sure,
have that.
sure.
These 14 numbers.
Okay.
IMRF is running $5,000 to $6,000 a year.
Okay.
And
I didn't consider
your health
that.
insurance is 17.
Mhm.
And most of them have quite a bit of vacation. Most of your staff has a lot of vacation. I got
And
the
that's another
vacation
that's a difficult
Sure.
thing to manage too. You know, you outlay what you can, just like that one week when the supervisor was on vacation and then we had like 2 or 3 call in sick, or, you know, their kids were sick or something like that, and then we're scrambling. We don't have enough people to cover court. I've even taken, for some of these, the city collection call, Kankakee City has a collection call, and I've taken one of my people in the main office out, and she's gone into court the last couple of days, so when times that they've been in court. So when she's in court, she's not doing her other work in the main office as well. So I mean, we're scrambling. We really are.
And many of them have 25 to 30 days a year. I'm looking at a census here, and it shows 30 days, 25 days. So they've accumulated some sick time and some vacation time, so that makes it tough to schedule, I'm sure.
It's horrible. Yes, it is.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Defender, Mr. Regas.
Good morning.
Morning.
You have my report, and pretty much a standard report. Basically, it just reflects the number of cases we have pending and the number of cases that we've closed so far this year. Nothing else remarkable during the month. Looks like we are going to get a secretary and an investigator in the public defender's office, so I want to thank everybody for your help in taking care of that. So other than that, I have nothing else to add unless you have any questions.
Motion to approve. Mr. Sewery, second. Mr. Payton, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Is it, okay, the office worker, the office assistant, secretary, admin person, that's a full-time, eventually will replace somebody that was looking to retire. Did you know a date on that? Did they
Date
announce?
of retirement?
Yeah, did they announce?
No, but
Not
she's
yet?
going to be 70 years old, so,
Okay.
yeah. It's a very complicated, crucial position, so,
Getting someone up and running is
yeah, oh,
important.
definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right, so, and then you said, investigator. Now, I think the committee said there was 2 part-time paralegal investigators, so did
Yeah,
you
what I did is I split that position, 850 hours annually for 2 people, no benefits. So it's a lot cheaper than hiring one person full-time with benefits. One of the part-time spots, the person's bilingual, so that really helps.
You answered my question.
Yeah.
But I had to clarify, because there was a singular when you said it, and I want to make sure
Yeah,
that it didn't
I mean, it's the
change.
equivalent of one full-time
Right.
investigator, but I split it.
Any other questions? Hold on, sorry.
So in essence, hiring the one person without the benefits, that's like, what is that? Did you say that was 16? 17? 17,000 or whatever. So that actually, if you would have hired a full-timer, could have allowed you to hire 4 with the saving of the benefit package.
Anyone else? That's it.
All right,
Thank
thanks. Thank you very much.
Moving on, probation, Tom Latham. If everybody a chance to check out the monthly report, motion to approve. Mr. Stauffenberg, second. Ms. Dunbar? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Good morning.
Good morning. Just to go over a few numbers. As you can see, we had 589 successful field contacts last month. We attempted 682. 1,921 in-office contacts for a total of 2,510 contacts for September. Again, you can see 23,647 contacts to date. We completed 473 investigations so far this year, 66 last month alone. Collected 135 drug tests in September and just over 1,300 for 2017. And screened 24 minors for detention, detained 12, and we've detained 102 minors year to date. And we currently have 17 in custody, and I believe that breaks down to about 15 here and 2 at Jerome Combs and 15 at River Valley and Joliet. With only a few months remaining, 2017, we're on pace, as you can tell, to have over 31,000 successful contacts, and that's compared to 27,016. So we were able to get that up quite a bit, and a lot of that's just because we had positions filled all year in those areas. Any questions on the monthly report?
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Sorry to be a nuisance, Chairman.
No, that's okay. I'll just leave it on.
What happens when you, what happens when you attempt and don't get somebody?
They're going back. A lot of people, they're going back till they do make contact, till it's successful. So that's why.
No penalty or seconds?
Well, it depends. Some of these people are on curfew, and there would be an issue if they're not home or they have we call technical violations. They're violating their court order by having alcohol or people over they shouldn't have or things like that. But some of these people are just working, confirming their residence. So they're out there just to make sure you live where you say you live. We just want to check that, and that's all we need right now. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious, trying to learn the process here.
No, so the ones we're just checking and want to confirm their residence, they do have to go back and do that in the time. They have so much time to confirm that. So they'll leave door tags and stuff like that to contact us, things like that. So, and like other ones, they're checking every night.
Yeah.
A couple times a night. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
The only thing I haven't on much is the pretrial program that I've talked about. We're still working on that. What we're going to exactly do come January when that takes effect, when Senate Bill 2034 goes to effect. I'm not up here asking for positions right now because I just don't know the numbers yet. I have 2 days of meetings next week to about this to see what we can come up with. Like I've said before, we do receive funding for one position, one pretrial position in our grant and aid. And that's where they kind of get us. We have to develop a pretrial program. Plus, we're going to start seeing them those numbers build in January. So just to give you, that's the status of that right now. There's hopefully at the what month we in? October. No, yeah. So by November, for committee, I'll have a little bit more of an idea of what we're going to try to do come January because we're not getting. We already have our allocation for 2018, state fiscal year 18 from the state. Which was a slight increase over this year, but we're funded at the same percentage when you factor in things just get more expensive. So.
Do you have a 30-second synopsis of what the Senate bill is to remind everybody?
Well, that's just that Bail Reform Act where there's 2 classes of, 2 categories, I should say, of offenses. And I think offense B offenses, which is a long list. Basically, they're looking to release those individuals. and there's a tight schedule on getting those people out of custody, what brings in pretrial. And Jim, maybe you can sum it up better than I can. That wasn't too good, but I mean, there's a strict timeline on getting those individuals out of custody. Well, I don't have it in front of me, the
Sure,
timelines,
sure.
but,
So basically, it means that you're gonna have to monitor many more people, potentially, that normally would be going through this process here in, our
basically,
justice way.
Category B, judge must order non-monetary bail alternatives unless the defendant has deemed a very high flight risk by our pretrial, because we do a screening on them, an assessment. Nonviolent Class 3 and 4 felonies, nonviolent Class A misdemeanors, and all Class B misdemeanors. And when you look at, in a 12-month period, the jail booked in about 5,500 people from June to June. 10% of those individuals are somebody we have to deal with. That's a high number, especially when you got to go do a bond report, and that bond report's criminal history, employment, address verification, all that kind of stuff. You have to do that. They come in the morning, go out to the jail and do that, turn in for court. Then we have to provide the supervision, which is the same level of supervision of anyone. That's face-to-face, that's drug testing, drug referrals, GPS, whatever it may be. That supervision is the same as anyone else that would be on probation or any other supervision. So the numbers are a concern, because we're looking at over 100 bond reports a week. If if you're looking at 10 to 12 people booked into the jail every day on average, or 15 on average, so just again, we're gonna no money for it from the state, and we're gonna see what I'm hoping to get some ideas from other counties that are in our situation, similar situation at that meeting next week. So,
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone?
okay. Lastly, this member drug court auction is Friday the 27th. I do have tickets with me if anybody wants to buy some tickets here, or you can call me, obviously, or come by the office, and I'll have the tickets. But I do have some with me, and I'm carrying them with me all the time, so I can talk to anybody after the meeting. And that's it.
Thank you. Moving on, State's Attorney's Office, motion to approve the monthly report, or the grand jury report, excuse me. Mr. Washington, Mr. Snipes, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Morning.
Morning. So I'm here today to ask for 22 additional prosecutors. We're coming for you, Gus. We're coming for you. You can see from this report, there's 566 felonies that have been indicted year to date. You can see the breakdown. Anyone have any questions about the breakdown or anything about those offenses? The diversion program, I'd like to maybe kick that over to next month if possible. I want to work some things out with our 2 felony judges before I bring it to the board. And then finally, October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. You can see from the report, we've indicted 60 felony domestic batteries this year. Those are usually cases in which there was strangulation involved, or where it's the individual's second or greater offense. So those are definitely serious cases. All the domestic violence cases, though, are serious. Most of them, first-time offenders, are charged as Class A misdemeanors. I would say we get somewhere between 30 to 50 domestic battery cases every single week come through the office for review. And many of those we're able to charge. Sometimes we have a victim that wasn't willing to sign a report or a complaint, or we just lack the evidence to go forward on it. But domestic violence is a big problem nationwide. It's a big problem in Kankakee County. We're seeing a trend where offenders and victims are becoming younger and younger. Most of the domestic violence incidents are fueled usually by 3 things: drugs, alcohol, or cell phones. I can't tell you how many times there are arguments about what someone saw on a cell phone. They took the other person's cell phone, went through the cell phone. It really, and there's jealousy issues involved with that and everything else. But I would say probably 8 out of 10 cases, it seems to be drug and alcohol refueled. So please remind people in your circles that Harbor House is in our community. They're a domestic violence shelter. They provide, in addition to shelter, they provide resources and referrals, and all of those services are provided free. So please remind people during this month and year-round to support Harbor House and their mission. And we want victims to become survivors of domestic violence. So encourage them to seek out those resources if you know people that need them. Thanks.
Mr. Snipes?
I'm just going to echo the Harbor House for over 20, I believe it's about 20, 21 years or wherever I was part of the effort to raise the funds with the Junior League of Women's and those for Harbor House. And while the services are free, remind yourself of whether they have budgets that have to meet, bills that have to be paid. So I will echo that sentiment that, you know, got an extra check, you know, send it that way, because they do a tremendous job.
Harbor House and Casey Casa really weathered one hell of a storm the last couple of years while the state budget was in flux, as everyone did, but them especially, the social service providers were hit really hard.
Stevens?
Jim, I just want to say thank you very much for a very extremely detailed report. It's
Put
very much
together-
appreciated.
It's actually put together by Rhonda Powell. We do grand juries every other Thursday. Rhonda gathers that data and puts that whole report together, so I'll extend those thanks to her today.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on, Coroner's Office. Need a motion to combine and approve monthly report and monthly receipts. Mr. Snipes, second. Sevens? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Well played. Well played. Yes, sir.
What did you do?
We just did the motion, we combined everything, we're approved.
I'm ready to talk on that.
Yeah?
Okay, I just go through my statistics, basically where we're at coming into at the end of September. As I preach a lot, we're way over, especially on our autopsies. We're at 110 with still 2 months to go. We were only 96 in 2016. Our office has been doing a lot of work. As you know, it's constantly all over the papers, all over the TV about the epidemic, and it's right here in our county. At a population of 113,000, we're striking at 46 overdoses right now, with 3 pending, which we know are going to be 49. At the beginning of the year, I thought we'd come up to 51, but we still got 2 months to go, and we're not even at a peak yet in our county. It's been a tremendous hit to us. Eric, you got that one? Not only with the amount of work that we're doing in our office there, we're extending a little bit further because of the epidemic that's here. I've been involved in a lot of committees. I'm on a lot of boards now. And we're also going through the county to try to do education to everybody, because of the average age is still around 42 years of age. He'll get that up in a minute. So I wanted to talk to you about what we're doing. These are basically, as you can see, is the, I hope you can hear me off of that. In 2017, this is where Eric and I basically have been to every one of these places, along with doing all the autopsies that we have to be, and also being on call. We've been to Bradley High School. We've been to Coal City came to us because they're unable to get a good program over there at their area. And we've been to Herscher High School, the community college, the Farm Bureau. We've done a lot with the county's Pledge of Life. I've worked a lot with the state's attorney, and not only his academy that he had.
We're even still teaching the anatomy to some of the high schools. I go into it and teach that. The Citizens Academy, Olivet Criminal Justice Program, St. Mary's Paramedic Program, Trinity Methodist Church program. We even had an open forum. That remind yourself that I got $225,000 grant to do this. It doesn't cost the county where we're going. It just counts the number of hours that you're spending. In the open, we had a full. We had it at Olivet. We had a full auditorium, and I want to personally thank Roger Hess, Carol Weber, and Pat McConnell for being the only representatives there from the county. It was a pleasure to see you there for all the work that we do and what we're doing for your people, your citizens of your district. I would have thought that there'd been a lot more. We advertised that all over the place. That would be more people that would be more dedicated to come and see what's wrong in your county. I had the state's attorney there, the sheriff there. I thank the sheriff and the state's attorney, along with the fire departments. We had KMEG there to be able to talk about what's going on in your county. And we're continuing on doing that. We've got that grant. We're putting on 2 more performances, hopefully after the first of the year. But we're also touching on, I'm doing an opiate program for the NAACP coming up here Thursday that I'll be at, talking about the problems in Kankakee, and not only that, into the county. The sheriff gave me a tip on a Tim Ryan that he saw when he was at a conference about an addict that's been reformed, and he teaches a lot. I thought maybe I could pick up a lot from there. The state's attorney and I are going to a opioid conference in Bloomington to continue to try to get more money. Hopefully we get another $225,000. We've already put that into it, and I thanks for Riverside's Matt McAllister helping us considerably on a grant. I got to speak in front of the doctors from Riverside at a forum they had over here at the Hilton the other day. They talked about their opioid problems, that they're part of the problem, the doctors are, and what they can do to help educate and help us in the county. Instead of giving opioids out on fractures, on back injuries, on pains, instead of giving out 30 days to 60 days to 90 days opioids, they're going to cut that down to around 7 days, and then they'll evaluate you again. Because this is the big problem. Prescription drugs are now taking another lead over the heroin and the fentanyl. We're seeing more and more of this. And this is the way they're going to go after it. If they can't get a prescription, they're going to go out in the streets. So I want to thank, like I say, those 3 people, but also I want to let you know that again, Pat Connell saved us a ton of money by what he did in our morgue to be able to stop the ventilation system and getting that done along with Brian Gadboys for their effort to go in there to stop the sound that was so loud in there, bothering the doctors. And then, of course, we have a guy that works over there that gets all the smell. And basically, you prevented that, and now you can talk in there. And thank you. I can't thank you enough. If that had gone to the right people, where there had been a complaint, that could have been an OSHA of $25,000 a day. So I can't thank you, and I'm sure that the chairman thanks you too for what you did to help us on that problem. I also talked, as I say, that we're with all this system they're doing, and I realize that you need numbers, and I've got numbers, and for what we do, Eric, back at this place. I'm going to talk a little bit about the amount of hours that both Eric and I are working and continually trying to run our office here. Sometimes I don't even get in my office very long before I've got to go to a meeting, or I'm going to something to learn more of the problem we've got in the county. And I'm not stopping at that. The Narcan has been successfully, we're done with all the police departments there. All we're seeing now is a lot of different saves. For instance, the factor that I want you to really listen to is, with 46 deaths right now, and 26 Narcan saves just by the police officers, that's a total of 70 autopsies we probably would have had to do if the Narcan wasn't put in there. That's another $39,000 that would have cost us if we didn't do that. And thank God for all the dedication that we have with the police officers continually doing the Narcan. We track those, and they're sent into the state of Illinois. What I just want to keep you up on this, but not only that, it's creating time to be in the office, and that's why, as you see in my next thing, as a staff request, I've listened to everybody talk, and I believe in every department, but I'm talking as the coroner right now, knowing that of all the things we're doing, we're not even at our peak yet. We're constantly going. This week here, I've got 3 programs to do. We do them from 5:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night to get everybody in. And I'm going to constantly do that, continually do that, because that's what I feel. So I'm asking for another full-time person to come into the office. And I'm going to give Eric, he's over there, if you can hit him the microphone there, he's going to give you a little statistics on where we're at right now.
So, do you want to tell them about the employee? So we had one of our part-time employees approach Bob about possibly taking on a full-time role if one would happen, and it was 2012, I believe, when you did not refill the full-time position that left.
That's correct. We didn't fill one position there, and that is about one of our. I mean, I'm blessed to have a great staff, and to have this individual is retiring from his job and thinking about coming on. I mean, that you just talked about. Stauffenberg over there, how much it cost you. It wouldn't cost us anything. So we've already put in, before Eric gets into it, since 2015 to 2017, for my coroner's fees, I put in $99,000 that you didn't have to pay that didn't come out of the budget. Bought 2 cars, bought the portable radios, bought the in-car radios, which is going to have to be done on every car. But I stepped ahead and went ahead and got this done, and because I got a good price on them and I went after them. So when you listen to Eric here, sorry to interrupt you on that, that's some of the things that we've done, and we still are continuing. Going to redo the whole morgue. We painted the morgue. Brian got me a painter to paint the morgue. We got that taken care of. And now we're going to come in there and clean the morgue. The morgue hasn't been completely clean, but you can walk over there and see it, how clean it is. But we're gonna completely clean it, and I will handle the expense on that also.
Okay. So if we're able to hire the part-time employee now and move him to a full-time position, the difference from what that part-time employee would have worked to what he would be paid as a full-time employee is just under $6,200. I talked to Chris Kerner at Finance about benefit costs, and it was for an employee and spouse, $17,623 a year is what he gave me for health insurance, IMRF, unemployment, life insurance, all those costs. The curveball to our situation is that this employee, if he is hired full-time, his job currently does not pay for unused sick time or vacation time. Goes into a separate account that can pay for health insurance for him and his spouse, and he has enough money accumulated in there to pay for that for 4 years. So if you take out the health insurance costs given to us by finance, that moves the county's portion of benefits down to $8,231. So about a $9,000 difference there. So the $6,200 increase for him moving from part-time to full-time, that includes sick days, vacation days, personal day, holiday pay, all of those types of things also. So we're looking at total package price an increase of less than $15,000. you have anything more you want to add?
Mr. McConnell, hold on just a
We
second,
are,
please.
also, can I add too, this budget year, we're gonna be probably about $14,000 below what we budgeted for office personnel. It's the only line item we can say that we're under. Part of that is because of salary reimbursements for different things out of the grant and some of the other things we've done to cut some overtime costs, so, it wouldn't be a huge hit probably to next year's budget either, I wouldn't anticipate.
Is this a, like 11-1, 12-1? Are you looking to, like, do it immediately?
We were thinking 12-1.
Yeah. So
He
it'd
would
be
need
the new
some,
budget year.
if we were able to hire this person, he would need some time to finish things up where he works and, start like 12-1 or maybe even 1-1 depending on time that he would need. So
Okay.
it would not be any aids this year, but next year.
Mr. McConnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can any of that grant money be diverted, or is that grant money specifically for training,
Just for training.
just for
But
training?
it is reverted when him and I are talking. We take that money, it doesn't come to me, it goes back to the general fund.
Well, can you put that guy on training?
He's our trainer now?
Good idea.
Hope the federal government's not watching this, I hope, yeah. That's a legitimate question. Anyone else? Mr. Snipes, hold on a second.
Is it my understanding, and just help me to understand, that when they got the $225,000 grant, that's to go around and to do the workshops, correct? Now, when you do that, and you, I guess, charge the expense, where does that money go to? When you charge the expense, so that means as you use that grant money, because you're out there doing it, where does that money go?
Where does it go? We put a claim on it and send it to the county health department holds the grant money, and they disperse the money.
No, I'm talking about after you use it, because for your expense, once you go out and do these things and
where
you
does
get the money, right?
Where does it go?
Yeah.
Back to the general fund.
That's what I was saying. So therefore, that we would have some of that additional money to accommodate what you're doing, it looks like.
Yeah, that could be.
I think what Eric mentioned is that we were a little bit under on salaries because of charging that back, and that's the situation. Yeah, so.
And some of that money will obviously carry over. The grant cycle ends June 30th, I think.
Yep.
So we have until June 30th, so 7 months of next year's budget too, that we can kick money back for things that we do.
And we're pretty well on target to get another.
Good. Mr. Seroy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, you do a great job. You and your staff do a wonderful job, and I don't see a problem moving this. I think we should move this to finance, but, you know, that's the process. Move this to finance, and we will be able to, I think, approve a full-time, eliminate your part-time guy and make him full-time. I don't see any problem with that. You're gonna be under your, it's about $13,000 or $14,000 added to your budget, but the work you guys do, you need it.
And that was one thing I wanted to verify, because when you were talking, I was confused. Are you gonna backfill the part-time position? Was that your thought, or were you just gonna make the part-time full-time?
That's above my pay grade.
Well, we'll see how that goes. The biggest problem is on part-time there is that, you know, you don't have control over them. They take off when they want to take off, and that makes it difficult. And as one day it happened, it was just Eric and I in the county. That was it. We're analyzing that. We'll have something more for you, maybe in the finance, to be able to tell you, no, we're not going to look for that. At this point here, I'm not looking to do that.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, if you're looking at, and for budget requests for next year, if this moves forward, it's in order for you guys to get us budget requests included, if you would, as if it was approved in finance.
When we met with Steve McCarty a few weeks ago, we included this cost in what we gave him.
Okay,
So,
all right.
do you want us to send Diane the information so she can pass it to finance, or?
Please, yeah, and if one of the two could
Yeah.
come if there's any questions, that would help.
You need
the
a
committee.
motion?
Need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Seroy, Ms. Dunbar, let's do roll call. It's money.
They would have to prove it, so no money. So they approve it. But go ahead.
Thank you.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg? Mr. Vickery?
Come on, Scrooge.
Nay.
Mr. McConnell? Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy? Mr. Einfeld? Ms. Evans? Mr. Payton? Ms. Dunbar? Ms. Parker? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll explain that later, Bob.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Well, did you see Facebook?
I don't read Facebook.
Hold on just a moment. Hold on just a moment.
Coming up, Bob.
Nice.
We got a contract coming up, so it's gonna, I assume it's gonna cost money. We're going into negotiations, right?
You might be surprised.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. McConnell.
Follow up on Mr. Gester and Eric Cavenders. I've been to several of their meetings, as most of some of you people have too. And the amount of time and the effort they put into this and the feedback that I get from my people about what they're doing is indispensable. And you never know how far they reach out in the community for what they do. And without their efforts, like you said, there would be a whole lot more going on bad than what's going on. So my kudos to them, and anything we can do to help them, we ought to be able to do, should do.
All right, moving on. Sheriff's report. Everybody sees the monthly report, which we received early. Thank you for that. Motion to approve. Ms. Parker? Second. Mr. Stauffenberg, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Good morning. Could have slept in this morning. Just a couple of highlights on the report, and one that is really glaring that I think I've brought to you before is our local population. It is up significantly. In fact, it's a higher number today than it was back in 2005 when we, at one point, were averaging over 300. Dropped down a little bit, but since we moved out here, those numbers have been right around 220. In September, we averaged 267. And so far in October, that number really hasn't changed much. So we're obviously keeping an eye on that, as obviously our responsibility is first and foremost our local prisoners. So couple things under transports. Most importantly, the glaring number is the number of ICE transports. If you look through September, we're over 300. We are traveling every day, sometimes multiple trips. Obviously, we are reimbursed salary and mileage for those transports, but nonetheless, there are security issues when you're taking anybody outside of our building. So our deputies are also helping with the transports, not only ICE, but throughout the county, with it, whether it's the courthouse, medical, the other transports we're doing. So that's a big plus for us as well. Questions on the correction side? Under the second section, the sworn services, one number that sticks out is the number of fatals this year. Through September, we've had 16 countywide. That's an increase over last year, and we're not done with this year yet, unfortunately. We have had a number of details out ourselves, trying to slow people down. They've been very productive, very successful, but you know, we can't be everywhere all the time. So we hope that people get the message when we're out there, but you know, unfortunately those numbers keep going up. Our calls for service so far this year were well over 7,000 more at this time than we were at this time last year. That's a lot of calls for service. But our guys have stepped up. Our civil process numbers are up, and our arrests are up. So, questions on the sworn side?
Mr. Washington.
On the fatalities, how do you record them as far as the distance they are away from municipalities, or are they mostly out on the rural areas where you got corn?
Well, this number, the 16 number, is countywide. So we have a lot, even in the rural areas, there's a lot of state roads that these fatalities occur on. The unfortunate part is a lot of times the state police have nobody to handle them. So
that's true.
We end up with them anyway. So, and I don't know, Trent, do you know the number of the municipality? If we have any municipality, inside any municipality? One. Yeah, one in the municipality, one in a municipality this year.
So it's all rural, basically.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So there's a couple more. But those are all heading, you know, in an area where the speed limit's a little higher than just in the municipality. And on the back, the revenue, if you look, our relationship with ICE has continued to get stronger. Our numbers have gone up, and we feel pretty confident about the number that we're going to bring in this year. I think originally we said about 8.4, and we believe that we're going to hit that number, probably go over that number. So that will be anything more than 8.4 will obviously be a plus. Questions on that?
Tangential question, and this popped into my head. Tangential. You like that? Word for the day. It's on the board.
I went to Western Illinois. You got to use smaller words.
KCC has a great program. The rec area. When we talked about it, was that something you were looking at for summer next year, or it just came into my head last night?
We'd like to do it as soon as possible, and honestly, ICE doesn't care about the weather. If somebody wants to go outside, you know, we'll let them go outside.
Okay.
Obviously, unless it's 20 below, but sure. Yeah, I mean, our winters have actually been mild. Depends on who you ask. I guess it might be global warming. I don't know, but so they don't, you know, they just want outdoor rec. They don't care whether it's summer. They want their detainees to have the ability to go out in fresh air.
Sure. Have you identified an area?
I've identified an area. We've actually identified somewhat of a plan. Pulaski County right now, which for those of you that don't know where Pulaski County is, if you go down 57 down to about right before you get to Cairo, or Cairo, depending on how you pronounce it, it's all in Illinois, and there's an exit for it, and it is 5 hours from here. I've been down there twice, not recently, but their outdoor rec is not anything fancy. And without calling it what it looks like, because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's not very big. But it's fresh air, and that's what they want, and that's what we want to do. I mean, we just want to become more attractive to ICE, so at the least possible cost.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
That's all right.
Prepared it.
one of the things, one of the board members, and Mr. Lear, I'm sure you don't mind if I single you out, asked about in light of what happened in Las Vegas about our training with active shooters across the county. And we do train countywide in a number of scenarios for situations like this. We are fortunate in this county that our relationships with other first responders, fire, police, is probably the best around. I mean, we have such a great working relationship with all the municipalities. Everybody trains together. Everybody's involved in training. The last training we had, which is a drill we had actually here, everybody was involved. All the municipalities were involved. So everybody's getting trained on the same things. Obviously, it's going to be a response issue, but we do train for it. So that answers your question. Had one at Olivet a couple years ago. Yep. And one other thing that, oh, you know what? Let's address the last thing on our agenda first, because I'm going to take it off the agenda. The 4-basin sink in phase 2. We are going to look at other options. We got a price back to do this, and this is something that we wanted to do for ICE as well. But the cost of it to install a 4-basin sink in our phase 2 kitchen was going to be somewhere upwards of $25,000 to $26,000, and we are just going to look at other options unless we absolutely can't. But we're not going to move forward with something that's going to cost us this much money for what little gain we get out of it. So we're just taking it off the agenda. So, and lastly, Sandy brought up the jury contempts, and you know, a lot of the things that everybody has talked about today, whether it's courts, whether it's any department, state's attorney, it affects everybody, and those jury contempts are no different. We have to go out and serve those people who don't show up for jury duty. And we don't get a dime for it. Nobody pays for that. So, you know, those are costs that we incur that, you know, sometimes you as board members, the general public aren't aware that, yeah, it sounds all good. We're going to go get, you know, these people who don't show up for jury duty, but that costs money, and just something that you should be aware of. So.
I have a question. Are they fined if they?
I have no idea what happens in court. Sandy probably does.
Hold on a second.
They are, but the fees sometimes are as minimal as $25 and up to maybe $100. That's about it. So that doesn't even put
Doesn't
into
pay for our
cost
gas.
everything that goes together to get them. Yeah, and just the physical things, the gas and the paperwork to put in, you know, the file folders and all that, let alone going to the meeting that he has. Judge Erickson does that call.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very minimal.
Thank you. Mr. Snipes, did you have a question? Oh, okay.
That's all I got.
Oh, you got anyone else? Mr. Stauffenberg.
Like, I had a complaint from somebody on Road 10,000 that there's a bunch of semi-trucks going across 10,000 hauling gravel from our stone quarry to New Lenox.
Okay.
Like 100 a day. I don't even know whose jurisdiction it is, but why are they not going across to Peatone on the truck route? I'm glad they're buying stone in our county, but that's, I just wondered, I don't know what I talked to the road commissioner, he said, talk to the sheriff. So. They go all day, every day, just hauling gravel. But I don't know why they're cutting on Road 10,000.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Snipes.
Two questions. With ICE, just looking into the far future, is there any funding to finish the unfinished portion
Not
of the
yet.
detention center?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're working on that.
No grants and things? All right.
We're working on that.
All right, good enough. And then number two, I received a couple of calls, and I know it's in Sam's area, but the feasibility of getting a multi police presence into the Pembroke, Sun River Terrace, Hopkins Park, Levi, I guess in that area. I guess trying to get funding there for their own police because of the financial integrity of the past is dismal. So I'm wondering if there's a way that we can probably apply for some grants or whatever, whether it's Homeland or whatever it is, to get it out there and then have it under the Sheriff's Department as the responsible person for of managing the funds. I guess that will be the financial accountability, so that there can be something out there, because we are experiencing out in that area a high level of crime, and I guess they're saying because they don't have some type of police presence out there, they can get away with it, and we're seeing murders and things out there. So I'm wondering if they can apply for, I know years ago they had this one guy, and I found out he worked under the sheriff or whatever, but he was out there. That was back in the 70s. I almost called his name. No, not Jordan. Another guy. I his name, I know it. But anyway, I'm looking to see if there's something can be put together to kind of provide a police presence out there. But at the same time, since there is a problem with the financial integrity, if we can run it somewhere through the police department and the county, if we can kind of get that done.
We would be more than happy to help or assist in obtaining that money.
Okay.
And managing it if that's the case. But the folks who are interested in doing that need to contact us, and we need to sit down and
have a
talk
conversation.
that through, yeah.
Okay, be good.
Yeah, and if I could, Sheriff, the management of it falls on the board of the money.
Right.
Mhm.
But the establishment of and management of the actual policing, if we were to apply for the grants ourselves, we could dedicate it towards that part of the county potentially.
Right.
You know, and they would be sheriffs. You know, they would not necessarily be the municipal force.
Right.
If we would need to work with the municipality, we would. To me, I actually get it. I would love to be able to do that. We can't under current financial constraints, but you know, I just want to kind of mention that would be our end to manage the money part of it, and I'm all for that. And I think we've done it with other things in the past, where we become the fiscal agent for. We're the pass through,
Right.
but we just manage the money.
Well, and I think something that probably needs to be said, that, you know, we are in a lot of areas every day, including Pembroke, Hopkins Park, Sun River Terrace. The unincorporated areas also include places like Perry Farm, out west, the Grant Park area. We are in those places every day. If you look at our calls for service at those places, business checks, things like that, we are there every day. Unfortunately, they know when we're there.
Right.
So, you know, and when we're not there is obviously, just like anything else, is when things happen.
Right.
But, you know, to have a more consistent visual out there, sure, that would benefit everybody.
The reason I say that, because we have the unincorporated areas, but Hopkins Park is incorporated, so
Right.
they would have to
It's the village,
kind of sign on that or whatever otherwise. But the other ones was saying it makes sense, and that's what I kind of threw out there. Maybe if you all come together and it's under a responsible entity where the government respects, perhaps we can get something done out there.
Sure.
Mr. Payton, I will mention that I've been told that there is no grant money out there, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't look again. But again, for ourselves, Mr. Payton.
But based on the meeting that I was in last week, I don't think it'll really matter who managed the money. You know, I think they want the protection.
Right.
And if
Oh,
the
yeah.
co-
Oh, no
right.
doubt. Oh,
If
yeah,
the county
absolutely.
don't manage it, fine. But if it's no, I don't know. But I would like to be on that committee where we pursue getting grants. If
That'd be
it's out
awesome. We'd
there.
love to have you on that committee.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to sound spiteful when I say this, but it does bear saying. The sales tax was voted down 4-1 almost in that area.
I know.
Then that was specifically to police that area at a higher level. That's not your fault. It's not. I'm just saying, the residents who went and voted said we're fine with the police presence. I think it's the good folks who didn't go vote, maybe that are paying the price for that. so to speak.
That
So
wasn't the only unincorporated area it didn't pass in.
it was the biggest swing, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, there was, and frankly, and Essex was another area that was voted down handily. So I just want to mention, this was, the places that you would think wanted police presence the most were almost the most against it. The sales tax, which is unfortunate because we were close. So maybe that needs to come into the discussion again as well, because nobody likes taxes, but I think people like crime even less. So, Mr. Seroy.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, has the a partnership with Hopkins Park expired with the part-time police presence where they were
Yes.
paying addition? That
They
is
pulled
expired.
out.
That pulled, okay.
They pulled out.
They pulled out.
We did not cancel it, they did.
They canceled that. For funds maybe, or
No,
lack of funds, or
basically he wanted things done that
you can't do?
we couldn't do.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Right, yeah, it was Hopkins Park.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's where, that's the central hub
Right.
of everything, you know.
Mr. Vickery?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a time that we had as many as 3 people on a grant. And when that grant sunsetted, we had to lay those people off or divert them to other areas.
Right.
So I recall going through that. We used to have a report called the Grant Sunset Report to keep us apprised of when grants came to an end. Okay? So we did have coverage out there, and we had a grant to do that, but even 3 people, when you're doing the shifts, it was just barely adequate, okay, to do that area. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Do we have any old business? Any new business? Come on, you guys, want to stay longer? Motion to adjourn. Ms. Evans, Ms. Parker, all those in favor? Those opposed? Have a good day.